Okay, so you'll notice over to the right here, there is a kind of a low budget looking animation file. Anyway, so this is the actual 3D file. So, as you can see, the design is pretty cool. Got a toothbrush, one of those old Pico Pay. I'm not sure what these are called. I'm kind of thinking maybe something like floss bow. And then, of course, a dental mirror. The pink is sort of free form in like quote-unquote Picasso style. You see it's got some posts with some 3 kiddie bowls on top of them. This is actually represents size of rope in a natural, which could be done dyed. I'll kind of explain some other stuff as I go. But first, let's get a bearing on the total size of this thing. Okay, notice this is X, Y, and Z. Kind of low on RAM, but anyway. Total height 87, which is just over 7 feet to the top of this. So if we deselect that part there, it'll tell us that the overall, which is the height of the top of this toothbrush, is now 6'8", rough and half roughly. So if we deselect these items, we will notice that the height of the top edge of a kiddie bowl is just over 6'3". Right, so notice there are some great paths for kiddies to climb. For example, if there's space over here, they can step here, go here, and go inside of this tooth. And then, lo and behold, come on the backside. Additionally, they can choose to hop up to here, where it is quite easy for them to step up to here and then step into this kiddie bowl. Also, they can choose to kind of go to this little edge and go doop right there. And then from there, they're pretty much, well, actually, this, now that I think about it, this one should get rotated. So that it's perfect for entry from that one. But then it makes it more difficult to get in from the other side. So I think maybe we'll just leave it facing forward. Sure, there's an option of doing like 2 notches, but wouldn't want to do that. Anyway, so 3 kiddie bowls that you see at the top. Now, this is rather interesting that this is designed to be in the style of an authentic toothbrush. And the plan is to make these out of actual bristles. So that way there, and I would make sure that they're not dangerous. Cats could actually lean up against them and brush their little heads on there, brush their shoulders on there, and kind of do a little personal grooming and scratching of the places they love to be scratched by themselves. Additionally, they can totally check themselves out in the mirror. And even a little kitty sitting in here can lean back and look at himself in the mirror and be like, oh, I'm so cute today. So then additionally, imagine you're a cat and you're sitting in this bowl and you see this cool rubber thing. You can maybe scratch your ear on the not dangerous at all, flexible, bendy rubber prominence. Now, that might be something that you might consider might be chewed off, but I could very easily give it a core that is more solid, up to a certain point, so that and I could actually blunt that a lot more, so it's more rounded. So let's say a marble, typical small marble diameter at the end, not this point. Let's see what else. Okay, so Although I didn't create this geometry in here, what's actually going on is this would be a brush as well, kind of a spiral brush, pulled taut and held here permanently. I suppose I could make it so that it's changeable, like a coping saw blade or something. But again, we've got the ability for kitties to lean up against it and scratch themselves. Get rid of the itches, pull out loose fur, whatever. Just cats are pretty intelligent as far as not deliberately damaging their eyes. So I think the risk of that is next to nothing. Unless the cat is extremely old and blind, maybe the cat might possibly do something to accidentally injure his or herself. Kind of the thought behind these little cool pink things is that they could actually be draping faux fur. Let me pause this and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so over to the right here, this is what I mean by pink faux fur. I think there's one that's even more pink than that. That's just bright lighting in the sun. So anyway, you'll see also here, notice the kiddie bowls. They can be done to look like this, or just carpet that is a solid color, speckled carpet, whatever color carpet, green carpet, and they don't have to be done in carpet. They can also be done in a faux fur, like this. Pretty sweet, huh? There's one in carpet, there's one in fur. So, I'll go ahead and make it so that I can zoom in on that in a second. Alright, so, let's see. So, see, of course I can't rotate this, it's just a photo, but you can see how cool it is. Imagine that being a kitty. So imagine this draping effect with these. Now, if you're not really keen on the pink, they could be done in other colors, such as these. I'll set up a slideshow. Alright, so these are some other possible furs that are available. Quite a few of them. Solid stripes, spikes, artificial stuff that looks like animal fur, even stuff that looks like feathering. So a lot of stuff. Some of these I can't get anymore, like this one. I think they're not making anymore. But this looks like it's probably that one. There are other pinks, so there's a lot of options. Solid greens, lavenders, you name it. So here's kind of a lot of pinks all in one image. So, so that you get the picture of what's possible. So, one second. Okay, off to the left here, you'll see some high quality renders. Just stills though. So if you want to glance over to that on occasion, I'll just leave that run for a bit while I get back to describing this model. Alright, so this, needless to say, this is a 3D model, so a real one would look a lot less bumpy. But this is pretty good size right there. Just this tooth alone is designed. One second, it's kind of hard to get into this. Store. Alright, so I'm going to put this not on top. Just there. Alright, so once again, if you ever want to look at dimensions, X, Y, Z there. So this one here, notice Z, we've got 42.5 inches, roughly. So just under, let's say, 3.5 feet. So, 36 would be 3 feet. So 48 would be 4 feet. So minus 6 inches would give you 42. So this is about 3.5 feet tall. 21 by 20. I mean, this is ballpark. This is just a digital model. But this is the proportions it would need to be in order to fit within this design, which is built roughly to scale. Like, for example, the base is like roughly 50 by 30, so just over 4 feet this wide and 2.5 feet depth. And again, we talked about the general height between here and the base is about 6 feet, and the total overall being just over 7'3" within the top of that mirror. Now, I could actually make the mirror shorter, but then it would conflict, and it's kind of nice having it, because a dental mirror is pretty long instrument, long handle. It's kind of cool that it really juts up high, and it kind of acts like a peak, and a neat focal point, because you'll actually be able to look at yourself in the mirror when you stand at the right angle, depending on your height. So my thoughts on the matter as far as materials go for all of these items, I'm thinking it would be better not to do them with carpet, but instead to use basically a kind of material like a urethane or a resin, an epoxy that's pigmented, with, of course, it would have to be opaque, because I would need to reinforce the interior with something to make them more rigid, like either wood or possibly some metal, and it has to be able to be anchorable to the base solidly. So, that's the idea. Now, you'll notice unintentionally, these things touch. See that? They touch here to here and here and here. And they would actually be physically, from the underside, screwed with hardware and attached solidly to these two items, which would make them all stable. And see this here? This goes through this, so all of this becomes a very stable element. And the same is true on the other side with this. And you'll also notice that this kiddie bowl touches also here and here, which screws would be into that. These will have wood cores. I potentially could even make them out of wood for the most part, and basically, brush on colored resin, and then it would sort of, look very smooth, because it would be in a liquid state and then solidify rapidly. So it would look like it's shellacked, like you, did a nice paint job on a vehicle. Now, this, of course, I would have to, do something to make it look more of a metal, which, I have pigments I can buy that are metallic, and so they would look more metally. How much reflectivity do we really want on something like that? Probably not a ton, because it should have sort of a dull matte finish to it, even though it is, somewhat reflective and it's meant to look like a dental tool. I used to work at a place years ago when I was 20. That's not extremely far from where I'm at now. And I made them a custom. Well, actually, no, I didn't. No. I just worked for them when I worked for a temp agency. And so I, could go in there and say, "Hey, how you doing?" I used to work with you guys many years ago. And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, cool. What have you been up to?" And anyway, so, hey, I'd like to have you guys, work on making some bristles for me. I'd like to buy just some bristles, and I'd show them the project, and they'd be like, "Wow, that's really cool. We'd love to help with that," and they'd probably not even charge me, or maybe they'd charge me $50 or something, or $20, I don't know. But, I could easily get the actual inserts, of the bristles already pre-cut in bundles like that, and then just basically create a fixture that holds them all perfectly straight, and then cure them in place with resin, and then use that as a single unit to embed. You know, it's complicated and technical, but trust me, I know how to do it to make it basically like a giant toothbrush. You know, these have resin core. They're made from a mold. So yeah, that's how they start out, and then screws go into the wood that's in the cores of these things. So it's an immensely complex design. It has a lot of different materials. I'm thinking the base would be carpeted in this blue, and I have the ability to get a really nice color that looks very much like this. So these, because they would be more likely resin, or, you know, I like resin idea because it's something that will stand the test of time more than carpet will. You know, the cats aren't going to be inclined to scratch on this. And if they were, it would just kind of be like they're scratching on a ceramic plate. You know, it's not going to get damaged by their claws. You know, and it won't really feel, I mean, they can brush up against it and it'll be a hard surface like this ridge. You know, it'll be like rubbing against a skateboard edge, you know, and these corners will be rigid. Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to, we could even add sisal rope and dye it approximately this color and go up to a certain point in sisal. You know, probably wouldn't look as good to do this that way, but actually it probably would look pretty cool. So maybe that's an idea. You know, do a portion of this in a sisal rope, you know, and kind of go with rows that go like this, whatever. But, you know, I like the brush concept here, you know, the bristles, the scratching, the looking in the mirror thing. But let me show you this feature now. Inside this tooth is actually another kitty bowl. Like the shape would be embedded in there, and I could carpet that. Just that. I don't think I'd want to carpet the whole inside. It would be best to just have that. But you know what? Also, I could do like a little pillow. You know, then you could just reach in, grab it, wash it, you know, and maybe like Velcro it on, kind of thing like that. Or maybe a couple snaps, whatever. Yeah, I just want to do something that's going to last. And, you know, a lot of customers love to be able to take parts that is going to be in contact with their cat a lot for sleeping and such, and be able to wash them, you know, by hand or in a washing machine. I wouldn't do it in a washing machine because it's too abrasive. By hand would be better, depending on what materials, you know. But it's something that could be done as a template and then easily, you know, replaced. You know, a material kind of like a toilet seat cover, old style, would fit really nice in there, but you wouldn't want it to just kind of go all over the place. So that's why I'm suggesting the idea of the Velcro. You know, if I got some sticky Velcro and then sewed on some Velcro in a few key areas on the piece that goes with it, then that would stay in place. Or maybe you can just have like a little lip so it tucks. That's even better. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so the holes here are probably going to be like around 9-inch to 8-inch, or, you know, below maybe 8-inch diameter. So, you know, plenty big for kitties to get in and out, and a nice little amount of headroom in there once they step into the bowl. You know, this would be kind of slippery, I guess you could say. Not super slippery, but, you know, if they just kind of like do a light little step onto it, they're not going to go, you know, flying across the room. It'll just be not as cozy as something like this, like if it was fur or carpet. So, you know, a lot of cool stuff here. And needless to say, they can walk right underneath the roots of this big molar. This would all be pretty much hollow, but inaccessible. It's just way too skinny. In fact, I probably wouldn't even want to make it hollow. I'd want to make it more solid with some reinforced pieces of wood, even a hardwood in there, so that this thing is very solid and attachable once again to the base. You know, this back post in the middle, this would come in contact with that to where I could put screw holes and attach that to it to add some more stability here. I could make contact with this thing, but I like the idea of it sort of like not being touching because it looks nifty. So yeah, this rope could either be there or not be there. We could do more rope, like for here and here or whatever. And this can be dyed in any number of colors. I can't. There's a few colors I just cannot achieve, but not too many. Not too long ago, I discovered a new product that actually is very, very safe and uses a chemical process, a non-toxic chemical process, to actually remove stains and even set dyes from fabrics like cotton, especially natural fabrics. So I've discovered by contacting the company and speaking to one of the product development people that this works great, but it does take a little bit of time. I bought a large pot to do on the stove. You actually have to boil the rope in boiling water with this chemical inside of it for a good 45 minutes to an hour or more to remove the natural kind of beigeish color. And once you do that, it gets lighter, not totally ghost white, but it removes a significant amount of that yellowish tone to where you can actually get a true blue. Like a royal blue is achievable. So truer colors. Otherwise, you're mixing with a kind of a dirty yellow, when you're creating a bright color. So anyway, yeah, because this exterior would be a white epoxy, more than likely. That way there, it's got an enamel type finish, like a real tooth. I didn't want the authenticity of making the roots look sort of brownish, like dried out teeth, which kind of looks macabre. Even though it's anatomically correct, it still looks prettier to just go with sort of the stereotypical look of a tooth in a dental office of just being all white. I think you'd probably agree with me on that. But yeah, it's a lot of strength and stability. This design being so complex, this is precisely why it took me a while. I knew I wanted to do it right, and so I had just other stuff to do, and I could not put the time in. But finally, I did put the time in, and trust me, you really got your money's worth on this design, because I probably got about 35, 40 hours in on this design, which is basically like, what, 10 cents an hour or something? I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, it's a great design, and yeah, it's not going to be a cheap one to build, and so I hope it's not going to be something where you're like, well, what, you wasted my time because you made something that is just too awesome for my budget. We can scale it back if that's the case. Like if we got rid of the tooth, or made this stuff less complex, we could get the price down to more of an acceptable level. How acceptable is to be determined. I don't recall exactly what your max budget projected was on this. But if you do want something as awesome as what you're seeing here, which would actually be even cooler in real life, because this is just a digital model. But, this is basically the proportions, If you can imagine standing next to this thing, coming up to, like, I don't know what your height is, but an average lady, maybe about this tall here, a taller woman, be in this vicinity. And let's say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Shaquille O'Neal would stand right next to it and be about roughly the same height. So it's a pretty tall one. It's a good size, and very fun. A lot of activity for kiddies. We could do hanging cat toys in a few places, like for example, down here maybe a whack, over here, hanging from backside of bowls, whatever you think. But I could even get dentist themed toys. We could even hang a toy inside this thing from the center, like chandelier, lightly. There's plenty of places to put toys. So we do have a few other options that we could explore for little accessories and such. One second. Okay, so check this out. I'm going to set this up to be a camera. Let's see, because it's not designed to be in the frame. Let's see if I can dolly cam it back or something. Let me pause it. Okay, I did this dolly cam thing back. That just basically added to the beginning, so it will zoom in, and when I hit play, I just want you to see. Remember the animation that you saw that was really low budget looking? Now you'll actually see the digital 3D model, which, you know, if you like, I can even show you that in more of a wireframe look. Say that. So I'll keep that off at this point, and I can add it later if need be. But anyway, so let me go ahead and hit play. These are the animation keyframes that I created for a really nice rendered quality one, but this is not a version that allows for that. This is a light version, unfortunately. And I'm playing this at like half speed so that you can actually see it a little better. And I can actually just stop the animation at some point and kind of wipe the slider. You know what? Actually, I want you to see the interior. Oops. Yeah, it's because I moved the dolly. Alright, so get rid of the dolly. Maybe that works. Oh, that's because I'm using the dolly. Alright, so this is, again, the lit wireframe. The only reason why these look weird is because there's such a dense wireframe on that. And same with the bristles and stuff. You can actually see the camera in there. That's the camera. Watch this. Kind of nifty. So, let's go to the camera's point of view. And we'll get rid of the wireframe. Yeah. See, I can't dolly cam this, but if I take it out of here and just kind of keep my frame of not bad proportions, it'll look kind of like the animation here, but better quality. Okay, that what that's doing is it's raising too much. The exact ratio I think was 3:4. It's kind of hard to create that just manually. But anyway, it's close now. So play it again. Oh, what I can do is this. Go a little more closer to the screen. Key A, please. No. Okay. I'm not sure what the hotkey is for play. Remember, this is not a rendering. This is just the interpretation of the 3D geometry in the program. So this is now a higher area, of course. I'm going to set this up for like regular speed. So, yeah, really cool design. I like it a lot. I'm sure a lot of people in the dentistry business are going to really dig this. Yeah, I think really this would be so cool to actually have in the waiting room at a dentist office, so that people that come in with, you know, I know it's not weird, like common for people to go public places with their cat, but you know, a little Chihuahua could enjoy this just the same. And who knows, you know, maybe there's a way to sort of encourage that kind of activity, and maybe cats will get more used to it the way dogs have. But I know dogs just have more of a follow the leader mentality than cats do. But if somebody got their cat comfortable with being in a public place, as long as kids don't go, "Ooh, a kitty," and try to grab your cat. Dogs are a little more laid back in that regard. They don't mind being handled by strangers the way cats do. But obviously there are some cats that are a little more mellow, that like the attention, as long as they've never had a traumatic experience. But anyway, so you get the gist. I think this video is sufficiently long, and there you go.